fellow collectors, and welcome to episode 3 of People with Issues. This week, I'm delighted to have my first UK guest on the show, and that is Mike from Portsmouth, which is on the south coast of England. I met Mike after posting a message in a social media group inviting UK collectors to contact me about having a chat about making an episode. Mike reached out, we set up and had a lovely preliminary chat. That was good fun. And scheduled the recording, which we made just the other day. Really great to get an insight from Mike on what it was like to be a collector in Britain towards the end of the Silver Age, through the Bronze Age and beyond. Some fantastic art pieces to show as well. So let's get on and listen to what Mike has to say, see what he has to share with us, and I'll catch you at the end.
Mike, hi. How are things on the south coast?
Yeah, hi Paul. Yeah, good to see you. Yes, it's very sunny on the south coast. A beautiful day today.
Excellent, pleased to hear it. Thanks so much for coming and doing an episode of People with Issues. You are my first guest from the UK, from England, from the UK,
Yeah.
altogether. So thank you for breaking that ground. So let's get straight to it because we've got quite a bit to get through today. Tell me a bit about your early experiences. How did you get tangled up with comics?
I guess it was what they used to call nursery comics as I was a kid. You know, my parents must have bought me some of them, and then graduated to one called TV Comic, probably when I was about 4.
Yeah.
Which had adaptations of the Jerry Anderson stuff, like Fireball XL5, as it was then. And then got into TV21, came out about mid-60s, 65, which was like a comic dedicated to all the Jerry Anderson stories. So Thunderbirds was one of the main ones in that. But at the same time, I must have been seeing sort of American comics, and there's a couple that stick in my mind. One was sort of horror comic compilation called Mystic Comics, and had this Mystic bumper book that I think my older brother must have had this, but I got hold of it, and it was some sort of, like, as you can see, it's Spragg. I think it's a Kirby thing, isn't it? So there was reprints of the mystery stories, and one of them kind of really freaked me out. I spent years trying to track it down. Eventually found that and got hold of that. But I must have been seeing some superhero stuff as well. I can remember Superman and Batman, after the 1966 movie started to be reprinted in, I think it was Smash, one of the sort of weekly comic papers in the UK.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed the TV series, loved the TV series, and as a sort of 7-year-old took it dead seriously, didn't understand any of the high camp that was in it. So I started getting like Batman and detective comics, I think in the mid-60s, 66, 67. Really loved the covers on some of those 1960s detective comics.
Was that sort of the big draw for you? What you saw on the covers and the action and stuff?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I like the character, but yeah, the covers were just so striking, and that kind of drew me in. Mm-hmm. And then back to the British comics. There's a pair of comics called Fantastic and Terrific, came out in 1967. Yeah. And they were dedicated to Marvel stuff, and that's when I really got sort of hooked in to Marvel. So around that time, I was buying those, also buying the imported sort of Marvel comics off the newsstand, from the newsagent, and DC ones as well. I liked some of them. And it was fun to collect in those days as well, because they came over in a bit of an erratic way. You didn't get them in sequence. I think a lot of them came over as ship's ballast, I read.
Yeah, so I heard.
Yeah, you got them months later, all out of order, and you'd have to go around all the shops in town trying to see which one had which comics in, and try and sort of fill out gaps in your collection. you could find something sort of 6 months or a year later would suddenly turn up to sort of fill a gap in the collection. So that was
And
pretty much my journey to collecting American comics.
were these all with the glorious Thorpe and Porter stamps on them?
Yeah, most of them. Yeah, some of them I've got with the the printed ninepence as per your sort of sidebar the other day, which apparently I think you said they were the first ones to come off the presses, supposedly, weren't they? The ones for the UK.
So I've heard. Yeah. Just conjures up a nice image for me of them rushing them off to the docks on a ship, even if they were just being used as ballast. And those terrific and comics like that. So this is Marvel stories or Marvel material printed in by sort of in compilations by independent publishers in the UK prior to Marvel setting up Marvel UK.
Yeah,
Is that,
yeah, that's right. Yeah, I think it was might have been IPC for Fantastic and Terrific.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Because I was at sort of in those years. Well, the 70s. I was in different countries overseas. So my first experience of British Marvel comics was towards the end of the 70s. But even then, like you say, sort of 70s and the start of the 80s, I can remember getting into. Actually, I've not got many comics to show today. I'll show one, like Rampage magazine.
Oh yeah.
When I first discovered these in W.H. Smith's, you couldn't be guaranteed of getting the next one the next month. It seemed to be very hit and miss as to whether they were stocked, and that was
Was that a British publication? Was that British Marvel then?
Yeah. So that was Marvel UK. Yeah.
All right, because I kind of drifted away from them by that time. Was that early 80s? Was it?
Yeah, that would be about. Since you've asked, we might as well see if my glasses are up to telling. That one's 1981.
Okay.
Prior to that, there was monthly ones like Marvel Superheroes, and that was my first exposure to the Avengers. I absolutely loved it, but it could be months between getting a copy and not.
I can remember Marvel UK starting with Mighty World of Marvel, and they had Spider-Man Comics Weekly and Avengers, and they were all weekly comics, so you could get a regular supply of them, and that was good for catching up on the early stories that you'd missed because they weren't in the country or they were difficult to get hold of or whatever.
Absolutely, yeah. So do you have any of the comics from sort of any of your first comics or any from way back then? Do you still have any?
Yeah, I do. I've got quite a few. What can I find to show you? Well, I'll show you my sort of treasure early comic, so to speak. So that's this one, Fantastic Four #1. So that's a bit tatty, and that is one. There used to be junk shops when I was a kid. They'd be called vintage shops now, and you go in these junk shops. They'd have piles of the old issues of DC and Marvel. I think they bought them for a penny and sold them for threepence. And this was a little sweet shop around the corner from where I lived. And I was coming home from school one day, and there was a little pile there. And I looked through it. It's the Fantastic Four #1. I thought, wow, I've got to have this. Didn't have any cash on me, so rushed back home and said to my mum, "Oh, can you give us threepence? I've got to go and buy this comic." Went back round there thinking, "Oh, I hope they haven't sold it." And so there it was, still there. So yeah, that was my sort of prize comic in my collection back then, and still have it.
You've set a high bar there, Mike. So when would that have been? When did you get that?
I was thinking about this the other day, and I think I reckon about 1968. So you know, really wasn't that long after it came out, I suppose, but you just sort of couldn't get them as back issues or anything like that. So lucky to
And
find it, I guess. And yeah, it was 3 old pence, which equates to 1p today that cost me. So
right.
I probably consider that my best investment I've ever made.
Yeah, gosh, you kept that quiet when we were chatting previously. It's like, oh, I've got
Well,
to
that's
one of
just I was thinking, what can I dig out that's sort of, you know, interesting?
So, how did collecting evolve for you, or do you kind of know at what point it became a hobby? So rather than just finding and picking stuff up as you went along, when did it
Um,
start to become like a collection?
yeah, I'd say it was around that time, you know, 68, something like that, when I was actually starting to buy things and keep a collection. You know, some of those old detective comics I spoke about, I didn't have them anymore, so they disappeared. But yeah, that was the time I was really collecting, getting, you know, Marvel and DC off the spinner racks through to the sort of through to the mid 70s, I guess, and getting the Marvel UKs at the same time. Um, so I carried on collecting for quite a while, probably till the mid 70s, late 70s, and then dropped out a bit and didn't get back into it till about early 80s when I was living up in London. Just happened to wander into a newsagent. There was I think it was the 30th anniversary edition of Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like Fantastic Four, so I picked that up, and then I got the bug again, I think.
And when you saw that and thought to yourself, I've got issue one of that, did you immediately, you kind of knew where it was and you knew it was safe and secure somewhere? Or
Oh yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I mean, that I'd always kept,
that's
but I didn't really look after it. I put it in some sort of you know, comic bag, but it wasn't a proper
yeah.
Mylar comic bag, and it was in there and in a box for years. And eventually, I thought, oh, perhaps I ought to look after this a bit a bit better than I have been.
But it's all intact though, isn't it?
Oh yeah, yeah, it's all there, but it's a bit tatty. You know,
Yeah.
it was tatty when I bought it, but yeah. So I don't know what grade it would be. Pretty low, I would say.
Still, just to have a copy of that.
Hmm.
If I ever get a copy of that, I can assure you it's probably going to be in worse condition than the one you've got. But that's I'm sure that's a keeper. So so during the sort of 70, well, up until the point where you kind of had a break in collecting and got back to it, did that sort of evolve into completing runs, or was that never your sort of thing?
Oh no, yeah, I was sort of needed to complete runs, have all the issues if I could.
Uh-huh.
So I would be trying to do that, yeah, getting back issues and the like. Um, and thinking about it, I got into sort of buying back issues pretty early. I can remember going up to London in the early 70s to the Westminster Comic Mart, I think.
All right.
Um, I can remember seeing a copy of Avengers #1, which was £7, and boy, I'm quite tempted by that, but it would have blown my budget. I probably only had about £10 tops with me. But yeah, I can remember buying sort of, I suppose they were proper import issues then.
Yeah.
Also going to some of the shops there. There was one called Dark They Were and Golden Eyed, which was one of the sort of main shops for comics and sci-fi books and the like.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, and that was where I bought my first EC comic. And when you had Carl on the other day,
Yeah.
and he showed you that comic, and there's the copy I got in Dark They Were and Golden Eyed in probably about 1973.
Wow. Crypt of Terror. What number is that on that?
It's not, oh, it's a reprint. It's #1 of Crypt of Terror, but it's the same reprint that Carl showed you
Oh,
in
wow.
your first
Oh,
sort of
yeah.
issue.
The DC stuff's come up in every episode so far. So,
Yeah, so I developed a love for the sort of the EC stuff there, and maybe it went back a bit to that Mystic Bumper book, but I really got into the sort of EC horror comics, especially in the 80s when they were doing reprints of them. And
Sorry, in the I'm struggling to get out of the 70s. When you were up in London and sort of looking at the comic mart and the shops and back issues and stuff like that, presumably was there a lot more available in London than where you lived?
well, yeah, so in the 80s, was it Forbidden Planet, Comic Showcase, places like that?
Yeah.
They were, I suppose, ordering them through, I don't know, whatever the equivalent of Diamond was there. So it would be a more constant route than the stuff that was coming into the spinner racks and the news agents.
Yeah.
You could go up there and get back issues there if any you'd missed, and get issues ahead of what would be coming into the news agents, because they were always about 3 months delayed, I think.
Yeah, I can remember the first, not the first back issue, I think, but the first big book I got was from a comic shop in London. That was later in the 80s, and I'd moved to Stoke-on-Trent in England, where there was more comic shops available, which was great, but they didn't really have like wall books. But when I was visiting my sister in London, there was a comic shop that had, proper, like, stuff where you couldn't reach it, where you couldn't touch it.
Yeah.
It's right here. Look, just so happens, right here. Fantastic Four number, let's say
39. Yeah.
Oop, wait, there we go. Being a big Daredevil fan, but absolutely loved that. So quite glad I've still got that. But yeah, that felt like I don't know. It felt it's the most money I'd ever spent on a comic. That
Yeah.
about 35 quid or something. Which
Yeah.
nowadays wouldn't get you much, but yeah, that was pretty short.
So yeah, Fantastic Four was my favourite title, I think, back in the day, and that's the one that I tried to sort of build up as big a run as possible. And I think probably around 38 or 39 is where my run starts, that goes through to issue 150, I think.
Wow. Oh, and you've got everything in between.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I still sort of look online for issues before that, thinking, well, should I try and sort of go back a couple more issues? But it's getting very expensive for those early issues, isn't it?
And do you always look at that sort of where you've got a run starting or ending? You look at an issue or two just either side.
Yeah, not so much now, but I used to, yeah. And that's what I did to sort of build up that Fantastic Four collection a bit. I'd be sort of, I've got a gap there, and I look to fill that gap.
Yeah. Oh, we're going to get on so well. What going back to Fantastic Four then? What was it about? Because when you started off talking about Batman and Detective Comics and stuff like that, what was it about the Fantastic Four that particularly made that your favorite?
It was that thing about Marvel Comics, being a bit more realistic than the DC ones. The characters had like real problems, and they had sort of lives, didn't they? They had backstories, unlike DC ones where Superman just went to his Fortress of Solitude or whatever. There wasn't a real sort of attempt to portray a realistic person, I guess.
Okay.
To a sort of 12 or 13-year-old, that looked like that was, they're a lot more mature than the DC ones, so this is a lot more realistic. And so there's a sense of feeling you were being more mature by reading Marvel comics. They weren't like the DC comics, they were just for kids. Yeah, Kirby's early stuff is really sort of the thing, that the sort of blobby thing rather than the sort of rocky thing. Ditko always had these characters in his mystery stories that had like like concertinaed hairlines, didn't they?
Yeah.
I think Kirby's stuff evolved in the Fantastic Four. A lot more slick.
what so like now? What does your collection consist of?
Well, it's a lot smaller than it was. I was listening to some of the other people you've spoken to and talking about the size of collections, and I probably had about between 4,000 and 5,000 until a few years ago when I decided, well, I need to sort of, just thin it out. It's just sitting in the loft, and
Yeah.
the time has come to pass them on to someone else who appreciate them more, whatever. So I did a sort of sold them on mass to a guy, a dealer that gave me a fair price, I thought.
Mhm.
So my collection's come down quite a bit. I've probably only got about 300 Marvel comics left now, about half of which are probably Fantastic Four.
Really?
I've kept a few DC and the EC reprints and stuff like that. So probably got around 1,000 comics there, and I don't sort of buy much these days, really. I might
You don't buy
buy.
any new stuff?
Don't buy any new comics, no, hardly any.
Mhm.
Very rarely.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool. That's interesting. I mean, I think so. uh, It's not something I want to run a tally on. And as I've said, it really doesn't matter. But I think both Carl and Raf said they had probably about 4,000 books or something like that.
Mm.
Me, I've got just under 1,400. Uh,
Yeah,
I think the most I've ever had is about 3,500, but it's really been because of space.
yeah, yeah,
And it was probably just as well because when I started earning and I didn't have kids and I had access to comic shops, I probably could have filled the house.
yeah.
If
Well, yeah, that's probably what I was doing because I bought a lot in the 80s, a lot of independent comics as well. And I wasn't that discerning, I suppose. And when I went through them again, I thought, well, yeah, I'm never going to sort of look at these again. So what's the point in having them up in the loft in boxes?
that overall process, which bit do you or did you enjoy the most from hunting for maybe something specific or just browsing for stuff or is it more when you get the stuff home and you're doing things with it or cataloging it or bagging it or what have you?
Oh yeah, when I was young, yeah. Well, you say bagging it. I never used to bag them, and a lot of my comics are still not bagged or carded. They're still in long
Oh,
boxes in the loft,
uh-huh.
And I've bought some bags. I think I've really got to get on and do this. Haven't done it yet. Um, yeah, so I think the best bit for me was, yeah, as I say, the hunt, trying to find comics to fill gaps. Um, and
Did you
that when I was really young was going around as well as the comic shops, going to these sort of junk shops that had stacks of comics the kids had sold to them, and going through them, and you'd find something from a few years ago, like a missing Fantastic Four issue, something like that.
uh-huh,
So yeah.
uh-huh. And was it always I'll go in here and have a look and just see if there's anything I need, or were you one of these people that's kind of like today I need to find these
No,
three books?
it was go in there and see if they've got anything I need. Yeah, I wasn't looking for a specific thing. Yeah.
Uh-huh. That's
I mean, I
pretty
probably
awesome.
would have done that in the later years, going up to the comic shops in London and looking for sort of, back issue of Swamp Thing when Alan Moore was doing his run, I'd be
Uh-huh.
looking for specific things then.
And do you still so are you still actually collecting then? Do you still look for things to add, or are you?
No, not really. Like I say, I still look to see if there's a reasonable priced early Fantastic Four issue that I might get, but yeah, not so much. No, I would say hardly at all.
Okay, okay. So if I did, and I want to make it absolutely clear to you and anyone that watches this isn't real, but if I gave you 100 quid, so it's specifically one book,
Mm.
obviously the grade can vary, but here's 100 quid. Tomorrow, go out and get a copy of. Is there anything that jumps to mind that you'd like to pick up?
Um, Okay, well, to be specific then, and not a Fantastic Four one, I would say Strange Tales 91.
Really?
It sounds a bit obscure, but me and my brother used to go to one of these shops in the 60s, and he got hold of this, this copy of Strange Tales 91. And I was really jealous of it because I loved the cover, and really good story in it for that cover. But I'd spent all my budget outside the shop when a kid had turned up on his bike with some comics he wanted to sell,
Uh-huh.
and he had Hulk #3.
Oh,
And I ended up in a bidding war with my older brother with this kid on his bike. And I
on the
spent
page.
my 2 shillings on Hulk #3. And then my brother went in and bought a few comics, and that was one of the ones I thought, I wish I'd bought that instead, sort of thing. But
Oh well. So I mean, there we go. That's 2 questions in one. The old. Do you have any regrets, Mike? We'll take
well,
that.
yeah, the thing is, my mum then later tore up that Hulk #3 because of some transgression, you know. And that was my punishment. She sort of ripped it up. I don't know what I was doing, but that happened to be. Probably I was wasting my time doing that instead of doing my chores that I should have been doing. So yeah, that went.
I think all of us are hoping it was something really bad that you did. It was worthwhile.
Yeah,
That's
I
all.
mean, it wasn't. It was no big deal then, was it? A copy of Hulk #3 wasn't worth much back then. I don't think.
Wow,
Might not even have been worth the 2 bob that I spent on it.
that's shocking. Can you show us the last book that you obtained, or something you obtained recently?
Yeah, I can.
Interesting for someone that doesn't sort of buy much new nowadays. So what have you picked up recently?
I got this a couple of months ago. It's okay, can you see that all right? So this is from the 80s. So it's an Eclipse comic, something called Lost Planet by Bo Hampton. And I've never heard of this before until about 2 or 3 months ago. And I read something about it somewhere, and I couldn't tell you where now, as I was sort of scrolling through, came across this, and I thought that looks interesting. Had a look online, and there was first issue available, so I thought, yeah, I'll try that, and yeah, really enjoyed it. But I couldn't tell you what prompted me to get it. What item I'd read and what was in that sort of article that made me think, oh yeah, that looks good. But yeah, enjoyed it. I can seek out the other issues.
That's cool. Well, I mean, if you're going to pick up something randomly and it ends up being a keeper, that is a good day. Okay, so just switching sides. And another one I asked about was, oh yeah. So let's see. So you're in Portsmouth. You're on the coast. Whether or not you can see it from your house isn't important. Let's say you can. So let's say one morning you get up, you open the curtains, lo and behold, the submariners leaping forth from the earth with an army of, I don't know what, whales, dolphins, something less friendly, I don't know. They're heading for Portsmouth, and you're like, right, I'm out of here, but I've only got time to save one comic. What's it going to be?
Right, I had to think about that, and can I find it? That's the question. I'll put it, I did put it aside.
You better, because he's coming, and that name or
You can edit this bit, can't you? Right. So it would be this one, Captain Marvel #1.
Absolutely gorgeous.
Marvel's spaceborne superhero.
So, Mike, you've got a Fantastic Four #1. You've got a Captain Marvel #1. Why are you saving the Captain Marvel #1? This I want to hear.
Well, yeah, I mean, I would obviously try and save both, but But yeah, I loved Captain Marvel. It was one of my favourite characters in the 70s.
Mhm.
Through that incarnation when it was first, was it Gene Colan? Was he the artist? That I think
Yeah.
it might have been. And then when it changed to the sort of different costume in the 70s, Jim Starlin, I think, took over.
Mhm.
And I loved all those sort of cosmic stories that were going on in the 70s. And I suppose that one, it would sort of remind me of all those things. That would be that one.
Okay, well, that's
But I
pretty cool.
sneak Fantastic Four #1 into the bag as well.
Oh, sorry, that's gone. That's gone. Um, Lord of Tumor, or whatever his name is sitting on a rock reading that while you're scarpering up the hill with your Captain Marvel. I heartily approve. I've got that. I picked up a good few of the um, early Captain Marvels, and of course anything with Gene Colan. But
Mm.
I really like that you've chosen that just be purely for the love of the book. It's not. I think
Mm.
quite often me, probably the other guys, and I'm sure quite a few other people, there'll be something there's kind of a special association with. But
Mm.
that kind of just summarizes that time for you, and you love the
Yeah, that's
character.
right. Yeah.
What else? What else do you need? So, what else did I have on my list? Did you manage to? So, one of the funny little challenge things is, can you surprise me? Did you manage to sort of pick up a book that you reckon I probably don't have?
Um, yeah, possibly. So, Fish Police.
Wow,
Familiar with that one at all?
I'm really not. I
So
don't. I
this.
don't. I don't think I've. I'm trying to think if I've even heard of that.
So I
Okay,
think
tell me.
it was late 70s that came out, and what was it, 80s? I can't remember exactly. I can't remember where I discovered it, but it was a strange story. It sort of, well, I kind of described it as a fish noir. Kind of, it was about sort of, undersea cops and a sort of mafia involvement in there, and it was just
Undersea
really
Fox.
off the wall. And I bought it in the mid 80s when it kind of went a little bit mainstream. It got picked up by
Yeah.
a sort of bigger publisher and printed in color, and they reprinted all the early issues, which were black and white. And then, for whatever reason, it kind of faded. I think it was companies that were publishing it went bust because there was a big explosion of publishers in the 80s, and
Mm.
lots of people jumped on the bandwagon, and then the companies folded. So it pinged from one publisher to another. It was difficult to follow. And it wasn't until a few years ago that I finally managed to pick up the last couple of issues that completed the story. But yeah,
And
a lot of charm, I thought. And
oh,
they
I was
made
going
a
to say
cartoon
that.
series of it.
Okay. Oh, really?
Hanna-Barbera did 6 episodes of it with quite a good sort of voice cast, some pretty well-known actors. And they made 6 episodes and only showed three because, excuse the pun, it tanked. No, no one. But I'd looked this morning. You can get the whole series on YouTube. So I was having a look at a little bit of it, and they mucked about with it with a bit from what it was in the comic, but it was just good fun.
Well, I'll tell you what. You absolutely get full points because I've never heard of that. I can't remember ever hearing of that.
Mm. It's a bit
Uh,
obscure.
I can't say that you were totally selling me on it, but just at the end, you kind of threw in that had a charm. So
Yeah.
I'm going to give you one of these.
Oh,
Anyone watching this will have missed some of what you've said because they will be looking over your shoulder and going, "What has he got on his wall?" Because that's amazing. And I'm quite delighted to tell folk that the first time we spoke, we had a nice chat. And you moved the camera around to kind of show me. You mentioned you'd got some art as well. And I only got a quick look at it and I was like, oh, cool. But what we said we'd do, so Mike didn't have to move his camera in to try and give us the best view possible, is he'd send me some photos of them, and I'll try and bring those up on the screen so we can have a look at them. And when I opened the photos, I was quite blown away. I hadn't realised how cool the stuff you were showing me the other week was. So
Marvel Superheroes number 18, but that's the first appearance the Guardians of the Galaxy, sort of original Guardians of the Galaxy.
Perfect, thank you very much. Now, obviously, Gene Colan, so I was going to go straight for this one. Where did you get this?
Well, yeah, from a well-known online auction site. Yeah.
Okay. And
I started collecting comic art early 2000s, I think, and
right.
most of it is UK comic art, but I've got a few American comic pages.
But that page, I mean, the way the panels are broken, it's got everything I love about Gene Colan,
Yeah.
the movement and the shading. And did you buy it like that, framed with the comic book pages?
No, I did the framing myself, and the page is from a reprint of the story, and just a scan of the front of the Marvel Superheroes, the sort of title part of it. Yeah,
that's good to know. And it again, for anyone else who's watching, don't bother adding anything in the comments, making offers to Mike, because
no, that's a key for that
one. Mike well knows I'm first in line. A nice bit of Bernie Wrightson. What can you tell me about this?
You've got to like a nice bit of Bernie Wrightson, haven't you? This is from a series he did. Yeah, oh yeah, it's got the title up there, Doc Macabre, which I sort of bought. I don't know if it was a book or individual issues before. I got the book of it, and I picked this up at a convention, maybe 15 years ago, something like that. I can't remember. And he was a guest at the convention, so he was selling pages from a portfolio, and yeah, I just like the look of that because it's got the guy in the middle of the panel with the sort of tattooed clothing is quite a common Bernie Wrightson thing, isn't it? But normally in more horrific settings. But yeah, I just liked it, and just it had that sort of stamp of Bernie Wrightson on it. So.
Yeah, and it's signed across the bottom, is it?
Yes, yeah. He was there, so I got him to sign it. Can't remember a lot about the story. I think it was a good enough story, but it was more of a sort of science fiction-y thing than his sort of stuff that he's more well known for, the horror stuff.
It's stunning. It's really, really cool. And last but not least,
yeah, love this one. Jack Kirby, 2001: A Space Odyssey, and typical Jack Kirby dynamic shot of the guy coming out of the panel at you.
Yeah, so good at that.
Yeah,
it's really a trademark. It's got everything that has. It's absolutely gorgeous. Where did you get that one?
Well, again, that was another eBay purchase, probably about 20 plus years ago.
Really? Yeah. Oh wow. Okay. And did you make the sort of mount for that as well?
Oh yeah, I did that. Yeah.
I did a good job of it. That's
yeah, thanks. See, well, I've got my own framing. It saves a bit of money.
is what issue is this from?
Well, yeah, this is it. They did a sort of movie adaptation before the series.
Right.
So this is a Marvel Treasury edition, one of the oversized ones.
Oh wow!
It's the whole movie sort of adapted, but Kirby sort of wrote the script as well as the art, and it's the dialogue is typical of Jack Kirby, and it's sort of quite, punchy dialogue, I suppose.
Mike, look, thanks so much, Jen. You've got others, but they're ones that we picked out. They're absolutely amazing, just gorgeous. I'm going to come back to earlier on. We're talking about some of the British Marvel stuff, and that comes on to, and I'll stick with the kind of slideshow for the time being, because people really ought to see this. Now, I'm going to point out here that this is what a no prize envelope looks like. If anyone has never seen one, now as we see here, Mike, I'm going to get him to tell us about it. Mike actually won a no prize, but he didn't get a no prize because in the UK, is that right, Mike? You didn't actually,
Well,
you
I
just
didn't
got
know about the I didn't know about the envelope for years afterwards. I was so proud of having got myself a no prize in a letter to Avengers UK, and then many years later found out, oh wow, people in the States used to get a nice envelope saying, oh, here's your empty envelope saying here's your official no prize.
Well, at least you got one in name. So tell me about the. Do you know which was it? The Avengers Weekly.
Yeah, it was Avengers UK Weekly number 13. The letter was published in. I'd sort of spotted some supposed continuity error in reference to Captain America being around in the 1950s. And I said, but aha, he was encased in ice at that point. Didn't come out of it till 1960 whatever. So he made a mistake. And they said, oh no, there's a reason why that happened, but have a no prize anyway.
They did. They gave in, didn't they?
Yeah.
So I can tell you when I think it was the Marvel Team Up Weekly series in the early 80s. I think it was only about 25 issues of that. And I'm pretty sure I've got a letter printed in one of those where I pointed out a mistake. And of course, at the time, it sounds from the letter but being young at the time, even in the early 80s, when I wrote in, we were still sort of thinking Marvel was Marvel, and Stan would be reading this, and
Yeah.
all that kind of thing, not realizing just probably some stubbly geezer in an office near London, sort of going, yeah, whatever, kid. And they didn't give me mine, even though it was. They didn't. But I'll have to see if I can. I'll have to see. I'll probably have to buy the whole series to find that issue. But that, even if you didn't get the envelope, that's an achievement, because quite often I saw people trying hard to get one and just getting talked out of being dismissed. However, there's more to this. So this is what I've done here is a close-up of the Mike's letter, but on the next, and any of this that looks too small in the recording to us, Mike, I'll blow up after we've finished recording. Here's the whole page from the comic. There's Mike's letter. We've got another guy's letter next to it, and go on, Mike, tell us about that.
Yeah,
tell us about writing
many years later, this is back about 2011. I thought, well, I really want to meet Stan Lee, because I loved Stan Lee, and I know he gets a bit of a bad press now, but I thought he was just a real character. I used to love his Stan soapbox every month. Yeah. I thought I really, got to make the effort to try and get to meet him, because he's not getting any younger. So we went to the Orlando MegaCon in 2011. I kind of thought, I'll disguise it as a bit of a family holiday to Disney and the like, and I'll sneak off and get a photo with Stan and get him to endorse my no prize, because I never got an envelope. So that's not me actually meeting him at the MegaCon. That's a year later, because after going to all that effort to go to the States to meet him, he then came to London the next year. But, so that was him endorsing mine. That says no prize officially endorsed by Stan Lee.
here's this glorious picture of you and Stan. That's really awesome. I'd have loved to have met him, but not today. Mike, you told me that a couple of your favourite things are what's on the screen in front of us. Over to
Yeah,
you.
so the I don't know what you call them, the sort of ident boxes that were in the top left-hand corner of every Marvel comic.
Cornerboxes.
Corner boxes, yeah. And that kind of distinguished them from DC and just seemed a bit more, like sophisticated. And they sort of change from time to time, like the Fantastic Four would like rotate every month, I think. They'd have the 4 characters, but it'll be a different one was the biggest little picture in the box that month. So yeah, that was something that I liked about the Marvel comics that distinguished them. And then
We
good ranks of Marveldom.
yeah.
Yeah, real frantic one, a buyer of at least 3 Marvel mags a month. And they'd sort of go through these sort of rankings, like trying to achieve one of the, like Titanic True Believer, a divinely inspired no prize winner. So tick that box with the Avengers letter. Yeah, it was just part of the fun side of Marvel, I think.
I'm literally going through those trying to work out how many you've got. I mean, you pulled out some stunners today. Oh, I've got a Fantastic Four one. I've got an original Jack Kirby. Absolutely beautiful stuff. But talking about being there and getting started and collecting in the 60s and 70s, and the bits in there that mean so much to you. You, sir, definitely have issues, and it's been a real privileging hearing about them.
Yeah, not as many as I used to have, but
There's time yet, though. There's time
yeah.
yet. So, Mike, thanks so much for coming on as well. And you're not a YouTuber. You don't have any sort of other social media thing. We met sort of via a Facebook group, I think, that we're both in. So you're the first sort of person I cast the net out for to come from the UK straight onto the channel, and I really appreciate it. Yeah, definitely keep in touch. We'll have a chat in future about British stuff, eh?
Yeah, that would be good. Yeah, but yeah, enjoyed doing it. Enjoyed talking to you. Yeah.
Thank you very much. So I'll catch up with you shortly, and everybody else after I've had a quick chat with Mike. I'll have a few words to say at the end of the recording. Thank you, Mike.
Okay, cheers, Paul.
And there it is. Episode 3 is a wrap. Fantastic stories, great insight into what it was like to be around in Britain towards the late end of the Silver Age, right through the Bronze Age, being a collector, reminiscing about some of those stores that Mike used to go to, some of the fabulous books he picked up and had for show and tell, some really good, interesting ones to show us in relation to the challenges that are set. I really like that. And the original art. Just blown away by some of the pieces that Mike has, and it's very kind of him to give us a little bit of a insight into those and tell us about the background to them. We touched on some of the stuff on British Marvel comics, including the letter that Mike had printed in Avengers Weekly. Mike's got quite a bit more on that apparently, so hopefully we can have him back again in a future episode and look more at the British side of stuff. But yeah, and has anyone else got a parent who could take down the Hulk? Oh, just terrifying. So if you would like to record your own episode of People with Issues, I'd love to hear from you. Just like this video, that helps raise awareness and get other potential guests involved. Subscribe to the channel, contact me, and I will get back to you. We'll set up a nice short preliminary chat just to get to know each other a wee bit and schedule a recording. And the recording's nice and easy. It's a conversational tone, a lot of editing for me later on. And again, this week, it's for me to struggle with the technical issues that seem to take it in turns to give me a different challenge each week. Fortunately, this week, despite some sound issues on my side, Mike was nice and clear, and you got to hear what he had to say, which is the most important part. I'll keep working on everything else. So thank you very much for tuning in, and until next time, stay groovy.